Good morning, and you're tuned into another edition of the Morning Motivational Moment. I'm Malik, and sit back on this experience we call the virtual sofa. Relax, enjoy yourself. Remember, today is 2 for Tuesdays, and we have Jack back. So, Jack, today we're just going to talk about the simple things of life. And when I say simple, I'm talking about those things that affect us: age, health, just normal everyday living conditions and life itself. So today we're just going to keep it simple, brother, and just talk about those things that are important to us as human beings. What do you think?
I think it's good. You know, many philosophies, many routines, I should say rituals, focus on simplistic living. Whether it's, our environment around us, whether it's what we do, how we think. There's a lot of it is simplistic. Simplistic living, I should say, is where it's at.
Absolutely. So, for the listening audience, as you remember, if you tuned into 2 for Tuesdays before, you know that Jack is on his morning walk, getting that exercise in.
Brother, actually, to tell you the truth, because you know what? Part of simplistic living, I think, is being truthful and honest.
Absolutely.
And right now, I'm not out the door yet. I'm a little behind, and it's okay. I'm not too worried about it. But you give me 3 minutes, and I will be.
Well,
under the stars.
Well, these 3 minutes we're going to talk, just to remind the audience, it is 5:25 in the morning. And so we get up early when we do this. So Jack's on his way out, and why not just talk about the things that are real? So as you're getting ready to get out, Jack, I'll talk about weight. So for me, like many other people, weight has been a factor in these latter, in my 50s now, in the latter stage, in the stages where I am now. I won't say the latter.
Okay, so real quick then, since we're talking about weight, and we are talking about age, maybe we should share our ages.
Right, so I'm 51, and you are?
I will be 58 in 30 days.
58 and 30 days. Jack, you look good, man.
29 days, brother, 29. I'm not even on October 4th, I will be 58.
Wow, you look good. Well, let me say,
Thank you, brother, and you're looking good too.
Well, I appreciate you. So it seemed like after I hit 45, for me, it seemed like I would gain weight and then it would be harder to take it off. But once I hit about 48, 49, it became so much harder. It would seem like I could work out and nothing would move. The scale wouldn't even move itself. And so what I started to do was just sometimes get a little disappointed and become, all right, complacent. This is just who I am. But this is not who I am. So I started the fast. To the audience, I started the fast. So I eat for 8 hours. I usually start my fast either at 11 or 12 o'clock. And no, excuse me. I eat at 11 or 12 o'clock. I start eating until 6 or 7 that evening. And then after 7 o'clock, I fast till the next day at 11 or 12 o'clock. So if I do 11 o'clock, it's 8 hours or less. Excuse me, if I do 11 o'clock, it's 8 hours or less of eating after 11. If it's 12 o'clock, it's 8 or less hours. So if I do 12 o'clock, the max I can eat is till 8, obviously. And if I do 11 o'clock, the max I can eat is till 7. But I always give myself that window of either 6 or 7. So if it's 11, I eat till 6. If it's 12, I'll eat till 7. And then I won't eat anything for the rest of the evening and then through the night. And that gives the cardiovascular time to digest that food before bed, 3 or 4 hours before bed. It gives it doesn't produce any extra insulin in the body because there's no food that has to be broken down, because 3 or 4 hours of digestion has already taken place before I go to bed. And I found that.
So Malik, so what you would be doing is really what I guess the health world calls intermittent fasting.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm doing.
So it's 16 hours off, 8 hours on.
Exactly.
8 hours on with food, then 16 off.
8 hours on with food, and 8 hours max, no more than 8. So I would say 7 to 8 hours on with food, and then 16 to 17 hours off with no food. The only thing, if I want something to drink, it'll just be water, maybe water with a lemon, no sugars. You can have tea without any sugar, but I don't have any coffee unless people have coffee with no sugar. For me, it's just water with lemon. And Jack, I have found that I'm so refreshed. I have literally found that I have more energy. I'm starting to feel like I did when I was in my 30s, or maybe even 20. Well, I don't want to exaggerate. I would definitely say 30s. I don't require as much sleep, and my stamina, brother, has changed.
Well, I think that's something extremely important. Is, the way we consume food. And I think that a lot of us, when we're going through life, as we get a little older, we do tend to start looking at things differently because our bodies react much differently. They slow, our metabolism slows down. Weight stays on a little longer. The natural source of energy that we once had at 20 years old, 30, where you could basically, get 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep and be great. You can't do that as you get into your mid-40s and your mid-50s. There's a natural slowing down of your energy. But as you say, there are things that you can do to increase that. And one of those is intermittent fasting, and letting our bodies, have long periods of time to digest food or to have no food in the system. And I can't say for sure that I know like the health benefits and things like that from, let's say, a doctoral standpoint of view. But from, the doctors and the other people I have spoken with, people in the health field, they say that it does give you increased energy, number one. It does allow your body to kind of cleanse itself, which, is extremely important. And, I think that's one of the natural ways that's available to all of us to, raise our energy and maintain our health.
Well, it's interesting because I did some reading on it, and it does improve cardiovascular health. The thing that I read talked about when we talk about sugar intake and glucose and people with diabetes. Now, pre-diabetes, I should say, because people with diabetes should follow an eating regimen that is healthy. And the reason why it's different because their body, I believe, in their case, produces sugar if they're needing to eat and don't eat. So it's not recommended for people that have existing diabetes to do this intermittently. They have to do it under the care of a doctor. But people that could be pre-diabetes, meaning the doctor thinks that you're very close to having diabetes, it could be beneficial for you. It could be beneficial for those that have any cardiovascular issues, high blood pressure, any heart-related issues, having, issues with high cholesterol. It's beneficial for high cholesterol.
Correct.
And then, so if the body is not eating 3 or 4 hours also before you go to sleep, that's also super important. So if you're going to do intermittent fasting, give yourself whatever time you sleep. Try to have your fast in at least 3 hours before you go to bed so that the body is not still breaking down food while you're sleeping. Full digestion should take place. That way your body is now just in a restful, peaceful state, and it's just resting. It's not needing to digest food. because the food has already passed through that portion of the process of, digesting, and not just sitting in the stomach, or not just sitting in the areas where the process is still in the beginning stages of taking place when it's breaking down food. And so the reason why we're talking about this on this 2 for Tuesdays is because things that are so important to people as we get older is health in the form of weight loss and sleep and mental health, and just those, weight, health, sleep. So Jack, you were saying, as we started this conversation before we started recording, you were saying that you never had a problem with weight. You always ate what you wanted. I bet there's people that envy people like you, because some people look at the ice cream and they put on pounds.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's the interesting thing is my brother and I, we are 10 months and 3 weeks apart. We're like what they would call Irish twins. Basically, the first time my mom and dad got back together after having a kid, they had another one. And
right away.
Right away.
Wow.
First time out the box, back into the hot zone.
So not even a year. You said 10 months?
10 months and 3 weeks.
Your father didn't leave any room. What's the doctor's orders? Was 6 weeks or something?
I guess he gave 6, and that's all he had. And but after those 6 weeks, it was right back to baby number 2. And the interesting thing is imagine, we're less than a year apart, but our bodies are vastly different. My brother gains weight. He's always had a hard time, keeping the weight off. He's not really overweight, and he never got to a point where I would consider him to be like obese.
Mm-hmm.
There's fat, there's heavy, there's thick,
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. He's been heavy, naturally fit, but his body just doesn't break down pretty well. My metabolism has always been super fast, so I can eat, even today, I can eat a lot of snacks, a lot of sweets, and my body just won't.
You won't gain weight.
For example, I have been between 150 and 160 for probably 30 years now.
Wow.
I've not been below 150 and have not been below 160. Most of the time, I'm literally right in the middle, 154 to 156, and I can almost just count that as a guarantee in my life.
Well then, can we count the blessings? I mean, literally, that's a blessing. A lot of people, probably even not just people just speaking from, having to have a conflicting body that is different from yours, but probably from a medical standpoint, you probably keep your doctor, off your back. A lot of people, especially when they hit a certain age, cannot do that any longer. And so we, part of this morning motivational moment is to count our blessings, is to remember how beautiful, because life can be fragile, it can be vulnerable. And a lot of people, health directly affected by weight is a huge factor in America. America is grossly overweight. I mean, we even see the younger people now. When we were children, young people generally weren't overweight in great numbers that you see today. Obesity is definitely a huge factor in America. And what people in certain communities don't consider obese, by a national standard, especially by health standard, a lot of people would be surprised to know that they're obese, including myself.
Well, one thing I can share with you is, the last 13 years of my teaching career, I have been doing elementary physical education.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen a lot of young kids. So imagine I work with the 2nd through 5th grade. This is about 7 years old to 11.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen as many heavy-set kids as I have presently.
Right.
And I do believe that quite a bit of things that are going on that lead to these changes. Number one, the food is
what's in the food.
Lots of preservatives.
Lots of preservatives.
A lot of hormones. Yes, there's things that are injected into food that allow it to stay fresh and edible for longer periods of time,
but it's damaging to the body.
Yes, it is. It's foreign, it's chemicals, and it's not something that we'll see immediately, but over time it takes its toll. But I've seen a lot of younger kids lately that are like what I would call borderline heavy. Yeah. When normally they've been skinny, especially, as you know, being 51 and I'm 58, we grew up in pretty much the same generation. Kids were outdoors all the time. Neighborhoods were filled with children everywhere you went. And I drive through the same neighborhood I grew up in. And it's like a ghost town. I drive down the street there. I rarely ever see children outside riding bikes or playing in the front yard.
No, it's very true.
And I think that the lack of exercise, and along with the preservatives and other chemicals that have been added to food, it's a long-term recipe. I don't want to say for disaster.
For disaster, brother. Let's be honest. It is for disaster because we're setting the children up. We are setting them up for long-term issues when it comes to health and cardiovascular. If you look at it, for instance, I see the same thing. I clearly remember my niece. She was a baby. By 2 years old, she was already developing breast. And the doctor went to the doctor, and the doctor said, take her off a chicken. Or I buy chicken with no hormones. Because the hormones in the chicken had caused a 2-year-old child to already start to develop, a 2-year-old baby to start to develop breast. And it was due to the hormones in the food. More importantly, so I think
development, if I could jump in here, that is the other thing that I have seen that is quite shocking, to be totally honest with you. I mean, I'm dealing with, like I said, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. I see 4th and 5th graders whose bodies are developing. Like you said, they're getting breasts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're fully developed, but it's like just the fact that someone is in 4th or 5th grade and they're at the beginnings of their growing into their adult body.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
It is weird.
I mean, I'm in class, I'm looking at a kid and I'm like, they look worlds apart from the rest of their peers. But I have seen it more and more and more development, physical development, what we would call puberty, at much younger ages now.
Yeah. And the other thing that I clearly remember is I remember the President's Council or the President's involvement in physical fitness in PE in our younger, gym class. I remember in 5th grade, like you got the President's Council Award. You would get like little awards for, doing well in PE, physical education.
Yeah, we actually had challenging physical fitness tests.
They don't even do that in physical education anymore, do they? Like it's not as robust and rigorous as it was, or is it?
Here's where I can tell you. Now I may not be the expert on dietary, approaches to life or sleep or other things, but fitness I've been doing the last 13 years, like I said, elementary PE, and the requirements, it's a joke. We used to have a 50-yard dash with a time, to see how fast kids were, and they set that bar very high. Very few people could get the top of the fitness award. You had a 600-yard dash.
Right.
I mean, today we have what's called the mile walk run. We don't even time kids until they're 10 years old. So in other words, if you're in 2nd grade, you're 7, you're 8, you're 9. long as you can walk a mile within the hour of class time, you passed.
Yeah, so the bar has been lowered. Ugh.
Oh, when I mean lowered, I mean, my God.
Oh, there is no
It's like
bar.
they put it on the ground and said, hey, if you can step over this, you're physically fit. And it's terrible. We have a test where you lay on your stomach and you lift your chin up. It's called the trunk lift.
And if you can do
get your
that,
chin up 6 inches off the ground, up to 9 years old, you passed. I haven't had a kid fail this test in 13 years. I mean, how is that a test? How is that really even indicative of health? And like I said, we lower the bar, and then we lower our activity just because many people are engaged, young people on their computers, their phones, video games, and this isn't just to harp and be negative and say, oh, doom and gloom.
no, but we have to do something about it. We definitely
do
do
have
something.
to point these things out.
We do.
And you and I, like you said, we're both, even though we're in fairly good shape for our ages, and we always have kind of watched our bodies and, taking time throughout periods of our life to exercise or, watch what we eat. I often wonder, like, what's a kid today going to be like when they're 50 years old?
If they can, hopefully sustain and make it and take control, because if you're already at age 7, 8, or 9 and you are immensely overweight and no one is helping you, formulate and get back into place, one of the things that I see people doing is eating out a lot more. So eating out used to be a thing that we did on occasion when we were kids. And if we went to, most of the time when we ate out, it probably was a restaurant. McDonald's was not the substitute for dinner. And so I see a lot of parents, unfortunately taking their children that are overweight, to places like McDonald's, and the children already have weight problems. So we're dealing with salt intake. We're dealing with children that probably have to, and this is out of love, obviously, because we all have family members or we all know someone. And so this is out of love. This is not out of judgment, but it is out of love. We have to take control as parents or as mentors, as role models, and say, listen, young people, this is your life, and this is another substitute for what you want, or this is an alternative for what you want, and you can still have moments of what you want, because life is about enjoying life. You just have to do everything in moderation, and like Maya Angelou says, and even do some moderation also in moderation. And so now I'm going to pivot on to, because me and Jack, when we get together, we can talk. And so I wanted to pivot onto just those spiritual elements. Even eating, it's the temple that we're in charge of preserving. The temple, both physically and spiritually, because to be holistic is mind, body, and soul. So
Absolutely.
The mind.
I like to call it the triangle or the pyramid.
There you go.
But as you say, it's a temple, but there are those three major areas.
Well, that is the whole body. I think that's the total.
Spiritual.
That's a total.
Yes.
That isn't total makeup, because the mind being parts of how the brain forms. The mind is. So I tried to research and find out what the mind is, and the mind does involve thinking and rationale, but it's not the actual essence of the brain, but it is how the brain conceptualizes content and rationalizes, behavior. So the mind is connected out of the three to the brain.
Well, yes, and let's put it this way. Let's face it, we feed our mind knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And knowledge can come in positive and negative forms. I mean, if you're a kid and if all you do is, let's say, watch violent shows all the time, you don't watch any shows that maybe have romance or love or, some philosophical thinking or critical thinking, as they call it, then all your mind knows is it's absorbing. You know, if you listen to music that is constantly hyped up and you know, has lyrics that are constantly talking about the negative, you know, violence, hedonism, secularism, whatever. It, you know, over time, what you absorb, you know, it begins to affect your mentality and how you think and how you view the world. And even though maybe we're getting a little away from the physical aspect of that, because there are ways I believe we can strengthen your mind, but we're talking about physical strengthening of the mind might be memory, you know.
Right. So you were talking about those. Well, let me. So then when we
sleep is another thing. You know, think about it. Sleep deprivation. How does that affect your mental? You know, when you're tired and you haven't eaten, and you haven't slept. You know, that all of those things.
Absolutely. Wow. So one of the last 3 minutes, I wanted to mention. So that was the mind, and then there's the body, which is the physical makeup, which also correlates with the mind. Sleep, what you take in reading, what you watch, what you listen to, how the mind conceptualizes all of that, and how it affects the body. And then body, obviously, eating, how we exercise, how we do things to protect the body. And then there's the spiritual realm. And so I want to wrap up on the spiritual realm, which is the soul, the spiritual realm, because taking care of mind, which you mentioned, what you watch, what you listen to, what you connect to, then body, how you eat, how you exercise, how you protect that part of the temple, how you sleep, and then lastly is what are you doing spiritually? Because all of those things make the holistic woman and man. All of those things make I'll put it this way. All of those things make the holistic human. How you define yourself is in your terms, but we're all human, and how it defines the human. And so the spiritual realm, how do you, and on this last few minutes of wrapping up, how do you preserve your soul, your spirituality? What do you do?
Well, I would say, you know what? Look at what we're both doing right now. You get up early. I've talked to you plenty of times, so your listeners may not know, but you always told me the first thing you do in the morning is when you open your eyes, you say thank you.
Absolutely.
It's a gratitude to the universe for once again another day of life.
So what do you do? What does Jack do on the spiritual?
Well, I can tell you today exactly. I woke up and I lay in the bed. I have my arm set every 5 minutes for about 20 to 25 minutes, and I would stretch as I lay in the bed. I don't really have a prayer or even meditate during that time. I mean, I'm literally doing things as small as just moving my feet in circles.
Right.
Loosening up.
Okay.
I will throw my legs one way, turn my head the other way, loosens my back, my lower back. So I start off my day by loosening my body, but it's done in quiet. I don't really even, like I say, pray or meditate or listen, which I would like to add because I do believe that is also part of what, you know, adds
absolutely
to your soul.
And being that we have this last minute and something left, I wanted to say the spiritual component is the leading part for me. I know when I'm feeling some sort of disconnect or agitated or frustrated, it's connecting spiritually. It's grounding myself spiritually. So I wanted to speak as we close out, I wanted to say mind is super important, body, but don't neglect the spirit, any of us, because it is actually the spirit that is the defining characteristic of who you are. If you,
Malik, what do you tell me all the time that we are?
Spiritual beings having a physical experience. And it's super important. So praying and meditation is what I do. Praying is you talking to God, speaking words, thoughts, energy, vibration. And meditation is the creator, God, source, universe, speaking back to you. And so I would encourage all of us, as we take care of our mind, our body, don't neglect the spirit, because that is the greater of the three, I would suggest. And like for me, when I get up in the morning, I immediately say thank you to the creator, acknowledging that some people didn't wake up. I did. And before I get out of bed, then I stretch, and then when I get out of bed, I still continue to be in that mood of Thanksgiving. And then when I get into, then I take a long walk, which I'm about to do with my dogs in a few minutes. And that's when I just say, thank you, Creator. In you I live, I move, I breathe, and I take my breath. And I have my divine being. I thank the universe that no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and anyone that will speak up against me, their words will become their demise. And then I also tell the universe that I'm grateful. I'm a solar panel absorbing light to become solar powered, to give back light. I want to be a beacon of light and love, because light shines on dark places. It illuminates darkness in ourselves, and it cleanses, and love heals, delivers, and sets free. Love liberates. It liberates people. And this is the thing that we must do. We must love, because when we love, we liberate ourselves and we liberate others to be who they are without judgment. And so I want to just say to everyone, remember to breathe, remember to meditate, remember to give thanksgiving, because humility, humbleness goes far. And if you don't understand how to connect with your spiritual energy, start with a thought and say, help me, talk to me, show me that you are real. The energy around you, the creative energy, that the very best of who you are, will show you what is best for your life. So I want to close out and say, Jack, I thank you, brother, once again for your inspiration, your words of life, and your words that bring this 2 for Tuesdays to another level.
Hey, man, it's the circle that you and I create when we get together. We let the energy stir to the other, and it becomes a positive swirl.
Absolutely.
You know? And like we say, in doing that, sharing and remaining positive, which I think is another spiritual aspect.
Absolutely.
To see that positive, which to me, you've already really hit it home with your attitude of gratitude, being grateful, being positive, because there are so many things that we could see as negative, but they it's like the glass half full, half empty,
Absolutely.
You got to shake it off sometimes and find those half full moments
and go with it.
Go with it. Give thanks, and then ask, like you said, ask.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. So let's wrap up. Let's say, so what I wanted to, in closing, I wanted to say, remember this: we can have whatever we want. Therefore, say exactly what you want and believe exactly what you say. So for me, I say, I can have whatever I want. Therefore, I say only what I want, and I believe exactly what I say. This has been another morning motivational moment on the sofa with Malik and Jack on 2 for Tuesdays. Join us next Tuesday if you'd like to hear from Jack again, which I know you want to, because he always has words of life, words of encouragement. Enjoy your day, and remember, nothing or no one can ever stop you from achieving your life's desires, because you and I are the captain of our ships. Blessings to all of you. Hey, Jack, man, it was always good talking to you, brother.
Good talking with you too, Malik. Nothing but love for you, man.
Nothing but love.
For all the listeners out there, nothing but love for you all as well. And I wish everybody a wonderful, fantastic day. And keep your heads up and stay positive.
And on that note, enjoy the rest of your day. Blessings to you. Ciao.